Are you folks ready for the most exciting video game review you've ever seen? Well, sorry to disappoint. We're going to do Monopoly this time. This game did have battery backup RAM, which is weird for a board game, but I guess it does take a while to play. So you can save a game and come back to it later. And it supports up to 10 players. So you can actually pass the controller around to 9 other people and play an extremely drawn-out game of Monopoly on your Sega Master System. And it's kind of unique in that that didn't happen again, the 10-player support, until I think it was about 10 years later on the Saturn with Bomberman. Bomberman on the Saturn was a much better game than this. So here we've got the instruction manual. It's got a lot in it. Tells you how to buy get-out-of-jail cards and display a title deed. And honestly, you kind of need this, because otherwise it gets a little bit cryptic in the game sometimes. And here's an interesting misprint on the cartridge, and this was on all of the Monopoly cartridges. It says Monopoly. Whoever printed that was obviously not familiar with the game. And here we have, use with the Sega system only. And they're not talking about the Saturn. So the first thing you might notice is that the game opens up with an extremely bad chiptune version of The Entertainer. And I did let it play the entire time in the footage here, just to torture you. But it does set a precedent for the rest of the game. Not that great. So we're going to start a new game here. And I have decided that I'm going to play as the dude on the horsey. And you put your name in, and then if you want to play against a computer player, you have to say that you're done. You don't want to add any more players. And then it asks you, computer player? I skipped all that to spare you the agony because it took forever to set up. I did also set a time limit of 10 minutes on the game because that's all that I can take. When you roll the dice, it shows your character, your little game piece, actually animated, walking across the game board. So that's kind of cool. And then you wait for them to decide whether they want to buy the title or the property or not. Now I get to go. And here's my favorite feature of this game. While you're watching the little character walk along, you can press the number 2 button to make them run really fast. That's right, my favorite part of this game is being able to fast forward it. When you pass go, it tells you, verbally, that you got $200, and then it gives you the option, as always, to pay 10% or $200 for the income tax if you land on that square. If you choose to pay $200, it'll tell you whether or not that was a good move, and how much you would have paid if you'd chosen 10%. So that's nice, but it doesn't tell you that before you pick, so you've got to kind of guess whether 10% of your total assets is more or less than $200. Now here I'm going to try to trade with the computer, and I should note that when you're moving the cursor around the board, it's only up and down that moves it. Left and right don't do anything, so it's kind of awkward at first. So I decided that I want to trade Connecticut Avenue, and just because this is a test, I'm going to try to trade with him for a lower valued property in the same color. He doesn't want to do it. I've never gotten a trade to go through unless it was going to give the computer a monopoly. This is what it looks like when you go to jail. That's exactly what jail looks like. That's also very realistic. So here I've landed a boardwalk, and I've already got Park Place in this game, so of course I want boardwalk, but I don't have enough money. What happens? Well, it tells me I owe $400. It immediately puts you into debt, and you've got to now liquidate your assets to get enough to pay for that debt. It makes me painstakingly go through and individually mortgage each property, selecting that option and then the property each time. It takes forever. I'm not going to make you sit through it. So once you've settled the debt, you get the property. I didn't build any houses on it. I didn't have time, but this is what it looks like. when you build and then you sell them. So that was pretty cool. If you don't want a property that you land on, you can auction it off, which is far, far less interesting in this version of the game than in the Nintendo version. You just interrupt the timer, pick what you want to pay for it, and then you wait, and then the computer bids up. Eventually, which I think I cut it off here, yeah, it gets sold to somebody. And that was the time limit for my game. So the winner is me! A winner is me. And it tells me how much I've got there. And then the next screen it'll tell me how much the opponent had as well at the end of the game. All in all, it's playable, but I wouldn't say that it's good by any stretch of the imagination. If you don't have anybody else that's willing to play Monopoly with you, by all means, play the video game, but do it on the NES. That version was much better, and I'm actually a big fan of it. But if you've got friends, play the board game. Just play the board game. That's what this is. It's a board game. Go out and buy it, and play that. This was like $50 when it came out. Ridiculous. See you next time.